Hi everyone. I'd like to start a folder on your desktop somewhere. You can please create a folder. Call it folder sandbox. I have a little sandbox folder that I have on my desktop that I'm going to just have a little place I can create my files within as well. Start up your Visual Studio for me. 2013, 2010, whatever version that you have with this thing. So I'm going to do my new project. Please follow along if you can do this exercise with me and engage with me and do exactly what I would do in my video with this thing. Um, Win32, Win32 console application, and I'm going to call this inside of this thing. I'm going to create the project folder. It's called chapter 1 underscore and the file, the project is going to be called chapter 1 underscore ex example 1 underscore 1 with it. And that's what I would put in my project name. I want to put this into my desktop in that sandbox that I just created, a little folder. I'm going to put it into that little folder called sandbox. I'm going to, again, disable my create solution for this thing. So making sure before I leave, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is disabled. Click OK. Takes it to application settings with this thing. And make sure you empty. This is very important that you empty this project. All our projects in here with empty projects with this thing. Click on finish. So as this sets it up with it, I'm going to open up, I'm going to use like a little paint box here while this thing is also being recorded here with it as well. So while this is being loaded, I'm going to explain what I'm about to do. So let me move this over here. Okay. So this is what your Visual Studio would look like right now with it. All right. You have your name of your project. You're going to add in your first file. Click on the CPP file extension in here. What you call this thing? Call it chapter. Call it main for me. Just call it main, since this is the only one we're doing with this thing. So main, M-A-I-N. Okay, and I want to click on add. Main, lowercase, M-A-I-N, and click on add. And I'm going to change this resolution so it'll be a little bigger so you can see the font in this thing. I'm going to come down here and do my text editor, C++, Word Rapid, and line number. So these three things will help you later on as we go through this thing. But here's this program I'm going to talk to you about. Just a simple program that I would like to talk to you about is your typical rectangle box or square box, and I ask you is to write a program to calculate the area for this thing and the perimeter. If you know that the area, or what's called the length or the width here, or the base, and this is the height, and if you take the area formula is equal to W times the height. Okay? Now, there's a reason why I wrote it the way how I wrote it. And the perimeter formula is what? The perimeter is equal to 2 times the width plus the height. Okay? So its perimeter is all the way around. Area is just what's the space inside of this thing. A couple of things I want to point out here. And this is in a typical way that we write our formulas. In the programming world, the right side of the equal sign equals the left-hand side. The right side of the equal sign equals the left-hand side. So in algebra, you can write it like this. Okay, both of these are good formulas with this thing. But in algebra, in programming, is when you take A is equal to H. That's in programming. you can do this the same way as flip this left to the right side with this thing, okay, vice versa. But the key thing is when you have an equal sign in programming is the right side will always equal to the left-hand side, okay? So keep that in the back burner with this thing. Everybody cool with what I just said with you? Okay, so I'm going to minimize this thing. I'm going to go into this, put in your header with this thing. I'm going to put in my name as my first program. If you want to do along with this thing, make sure this is your 1436/1415, whatever section this may be with this. I don't know, 8 point, whatever it is. All right, I'm not picking this up. Please don't pick this up with me. And this is just a sample, chapter 1 sample program with this thing. I'm going to do a lot more, a lot of these more of these chapter 1 in here. So this is, we're going to do a lot more sample program for calculating the area and perimeter of rectangle. I like that. All right, so we figure that out with it. Let's go ahead and put in our skeleton. Pound include IO string. Okay. Come down using. You notice my IntelliSense kicks in, namespace. I could use this menu pulling down with it, and I'm going to use std, and I'm going to be int main. Return 0. Okay. Now, a couple of things. You look at that formula. A couple of steps I want to talk to you about. This is the first area that I want to talk to you about. Is this is an area where you will need to declare your data types with this. When we get to chapter 2, you're going to understand what this means with it. Everything we do in programming, again, is memory management. Memory management dictates what? Everything that's in your system tray, your taskbar. So, you know, most computer now, most operating system, if you're running Windows 7, Windows 8.1, you need at least about 2 gigs of RAM, barely minimal. 4 gig is good, you know. So this is an area that you're going to actually take a look at RAM, because RAM is not an ample resource for everybody with this thing. So this first section of the code, this is the section is where you're going to declare. You're going to declare your data types. Here, I'm going to talk about different data types in chapter 2 in a second with it as well. This is one. The second thing is you need to prompt the user. This is where you prompt. I'm going to comment out prompt the user for information. So when you prompt the user, if you recall, it's equivalent to saying you output something to the screen. Hello world. This is my first program. A statement that you're making with it. Remember that you did the C out with this? And then you have to read in. You have to read in the data to store it into the data type that you declare it in there. So you have to read in the data type. Read in and store the information. Okay. Next, you have to come down and do something with some sort of calculation with it, right? So some sort of calculation with the memory that you have stored. Okay. So calculation with the memory and store it into another memory location. And lastly, you need to output this thing or display to console, which is the screen. All right, let's walk through this thing. So if you look at this,